Welcome to the Gym Heroes Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Peacock. Today's show is brought to you by Gymdesk, the easiest gym management software you'll ever use. Take payments, create marketing automations, track attendance, and much more. To try the software out free, go to gymdesk.com. No credit card or painful sales call required. Our hero today is Ortal Kindell, Program Director for Women's Self-Defense with a nonprofit company, Guardian Self-Defense. In this episode, she explains how to keep a nonprofit with a specialized target market growing and serving its target community with excellence. And while we are talking about a self-defense nonprofit, the insights apply to virtually any business. So without further ado, Ortal Kindell. All right. So, how did you first get into self-defense training and how has it impacted your life?
So I started martial arts training about, I would say 6 years ago. I just thought it was a cool thing to do. It was, like a new fad. I was like, all right, I'm bored. I want to find a new hobby. And my friends kind of were a part of a program. So I joined it. It was in a gym locally, right near my house. So I was like, okay, I'll join. I had no idea what it entailed. Kind of just, I kind of equated it to Power Rangers / any kind of combat movie that I saw. And I was like, I want to learn some stuff. And then about 2 weeks after I joined, I was brutally beaten in the street. And just on a random night, just across the street from my house, I live in Midwood, which is super safe, residential area. Very, very not creepy, very well lit, in front of a Jewish boys' school. So this was definitely the last thing on my mind. But there was a creepy guy walking around, and I didn't listen to what I call now bad guy vibes. Mm-hmm. And I kind of fell into this little PC mode where I was just afraid to be mean or to, think badly of the guy, mm-hmm. or to kind of judge the guy. So I didn't stay away, and I was very much busy with my stuff. And, he kept on creeping over, and I did get scared, but I didn't leave. And I guess I didn't answer him the way he wanted to be answered. And he just landed a nice punch right here. He hit me about 4 times and completely destroyed my face. Wow. My head knocked against my car door, so I had massive concussion. And then he tried to choke me out. I didn't know what to do. I just kind of tried to call on anything that I could possibly remember, but I was only in class for 2 weeks, which means 2 sessions because it was just a once a week thing. Uh-huh. And what do you learn in your first 2 weeks? You don't know anything. And my initial reaction was to call out for help. And I think that's what changed my life or got me more into martial arts in a more serious way, because that was a very pathetic, kind of very sad image. I was screaming out for help. I was, asking anybody, and this was in front of a boys' school. I believe I'm on, I forgot what it's called. It's not YouTube, World Star. I believe I'm on World Star because people had they recorded me getting hurt. I couldn't watch it because it was way too traumatic for me. I couldn't watch it, but I did see the upload. And that's what was more important. It was more important to kind of get the content. People were just afraid, I guess, to get involved or just didn't want to. Yeah. And this was the scariest thing in my life where I thought, this is where I end, this is where I die. He's going to choke me out. And he wasn't that much bigger than me, even though I'm extremely small. He wasn't that much bigger. And I don't think he was very strong. The doctors in the ER actually said that had he been a little bit stronger and knew a little bit more of what he was doing, I probably wouldn't have lasted. But I was able to kind of just give him a nice push kick, which didn't do much. All it did was give me an ounce of space, this much, very, very small. And then my instinct was just to make a 360 and a 180 actually, just run into traffic. And I just continued running. I was on an adrenaline high and I just ran for 20 minutes. I kind of fell and I was so scared. I stayed in a front lawn and I just passed out the people came and saw me there, and I just passed out. I woke up in the hospital. So that was the scariest moment of my life. And I think after that, I was extremely gripped with fear. I couldn't continue living like a normal person. And it was a very scary time for me because it was, living with that much trauma it's really impossible. Your brain doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't go outside. I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I wasn't a human being. And at some point I was just like, okay, if I don't do something with my life right now, this is going to be the end of my normal life. Mm-hmm. So I got, my friend kind of dragged me to the gym every day, and he's like, this is what you need to do. You need to get all of this trauma and fear and cry it out, whatever it is, but you got to do it in a place where you can reclaim yourself and kind of like build your confidence back up again, because it happened across the street from my house. So I just kind of felt like this was in my backyard, like the guy's going to come back. He knows where I live. Like he kind of like tormented my safe space.
Yeah.
So I got into martial arts then. Not gonna lie, it was very hard to get into martial arts. I'm about 107 pounds. I'm female. It's not the most welcoming thing for a woman, especially if you're going into a gym that has professional fighters. That's kind of like their goal, And if you're not anything that's going to do that, they kind of send you to kickboxing. Even though kickboxing is great, and I very much enjoyed it, it wasn't what I needed. I needed to learn martial arts. I needed to learn how to protect myself, how to feel safe again. And so that's kind of how I got into it, because I wanted to, get that confidence again. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to feel in control as much as possible. And I really didn't want I didn't want that image of me to ever come back. I didn't want to ever feel like if I don't have someone who's going to be with me 24/7 to protect me, I don't feel safe. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be the first person that's going to come to my aid, to help me as much as possible. That doesn't mean that I'm going to become Bruce Lee, right? It just means that I can protect myself now. Now I know what to do. Now I know what to look out for. Now I know, and I should have known, honestly. And that's my motto now. My motto is, how to read and write. You need to learn how to protect yourself, because there are crazies out there. Yeah. I'm not like an alarmist, and I don't think that the world is, the most negative place. I'm not a pessimist at all, but I do think that, it is becoming increasingly scary and increasingly more dangerous. And there's no reason not to have this in your arsenal. Mm-hmm. So that's quite a long answer.
No, that was a great answer. I didn't expect you to go in that much detail. That's absolutely terrible. But I'm really glad that I've read a couple of studies that self-defense has really been useful as a therapeutic modality for women that have suffered that sort of trauma.
Yeah,
so I'm really, really glad to hear that. So you're involved now with a program, I believe, called Guardian Self-Defense. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long have you been involved with that? So you said you started at a place with like professional fighters and stuff. That was first, and then you found Guardian Self-Defense?
Yeah. So I wanted to create my own program. I really wanted to help women. Not only, but I did want to help women because again, like I said, the walking into an MMA gym is very intimidating.
Yeah.
And I haven't found a place that's extremely welcoming or understanding first of all, to women. Maybe a woman just wants to learn self-defense, right? For whatever it is. Or she wants to learn martial arts, not even as a self-defense. She wants to be a martial artist, but she looks like me. She's 107 pounds and she's tiny, 5'5". She doesn't know the first thing about it, but she thinks it's cool. I just didn't find a place that was like welcoming and helpful in that way. I was scoffed at. I had a hard time finding partners a lot of times, and also coming from my own trauma, which doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It doesn't have to be that women want to learn self-defense because they're coming from a trauma, or they want to learn martial arts because they're coming from a trauma. I wanted to kind of like change that narrative. I wanted it to be that it's normal for every woman to want to learn this too. And the gym I was at just wasn't that welcoming to that kind of idea. And so I got involved with Guardian Self-Defense. It's a nonprofit organization that is literally created out of a need. Unfortunately, the Jewish community has been suffering so many anti-Semitic crimes, violent crimes, and it's just been going on. It's kind of like shoved under the rug. Like, oh, Oh, a Jew got hit. Okay, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that really bothers me. I'm Jewish also. And it really just bothers me that, there are different sects of Judaism, and, based on what you wear, kind of like reflects the level of like victimization, which I don't at all, agree with. It's just because you're wearing a black hat, a white shirt, and black pants equals, oh, you look like an easy target. Or just because you're wearing a skirt and you kind of look, more modest and religious, then, we'll pick on you. We can take your purse. And so we started in Crown Heights, where there's a very big, very dominant Jewish community. And there's just a lot of crime. There's a lot of, very high tensions. And it's not so typical for a woman to learn this in the religious world. It just isn't. Not because there's anything against it. It's just isn't. They have other things to do, but they are living with a situation where it's scary. They're scared to walk home at night. I can talk to some of my friends who will tell me things like it's very normal to be walking home on a Friday evening and be followed to your apartment by just a stranger. So I said, okay, this is not a very normal way to live. Like, we need to do something. So we kind of like scoured the place, and there really isn't an organization or a gym or anything there that teaches martial arts to the community. So we made one. And I was very, very much involved in the women's part of it. This was something that was, very much like fought against, and a lot of people said that it'll never work and, no one will show up. But thank God we've been around for 2 years, and we have a extraordinarily large class, and it keeps growing. Thank God. We have a very long waiting list already for the next cycle. So I'm very, very happy to get any and every woman into this class, to learn the basics, just to learn what to do. You don't have to become this professional martial artist, but just to know what to do if, because there can always be an if. So that's how I got involved with that.
Yep. There's always an if. Even if the world seems to be getting safer, there's always some crazy person out there, and it's worth knowing. So Guardian Self-Defense strikes me as a pretty unique program, and it's targeted at mostly at people in Jewish communities that need protection. And so how can you walk me through how in other ways that is different from a regular martial arts program?
Well, first of all, it's nonprofit, so nobody makes a dollar. That's not the vision. It's not the goal. I don't care. I don't care to make money. So first of all, it has a different kind of drive because I'm extremely passionate about the people joining. I want them to learn the martial art, not because I'm getting paid for it. Like, anyway, so it doesn't matter if you show up or not because I have your money. I want you to show up, because if you don't show up, that's time lost in the bake. To learn martial arts, and that's the name of the game. To learn martial arts, you gotta have commitment, you gotta have consistency, or you have no muscle memory, and there's nothing to call on. When you're stuck in that moment of like, oh, I'm in a situation, this is a little compromising, I don't know what to do. There's like a fight or flight that goes on in your head, and so if you don't know what to do, then you're stuck. And the only way you're gonna know is if you've done it over and over again. So I'm much more connected. It's not like a business where, there's an owner and there are some members and they come in and it's like, we know them on first name basis and it's like, hi. I'm very much involved in every single person's journey, I'll say. There's a very wide spectrum. So even though this is a Jewish program, it is not only for Jewish people. It's for a lot of people. We have a location in New York City right now, in Midtown, and there's not only Jewish people in that class too. And the program is for anyone and everyone who wants to learn self-defense. So there's a very big difference, because we don't teach you how to fight, we teach you how to defend yourself. It's very different. The vibe in the class is very different. It's very family oriented. There's a very friendly, very safe feeling in the class, because like I said, it's a very large spectrum. So I can have people from all ages. Well, really the youngest I would have is 16, but so from 16 till, I think my oldest member right now is about 65. It's a very big range. There can be different colors, different races, different ethnicities, different religious levels, and all of that doesn't matter. I don't care. What I care about is your commitment. I care that you want to do this, and you want to do this for yourself, because that means you're going to show up, and that means you're going to give it 100%. And if your 100% means that you can only do 2 punches because that's what you know, that's great because you gave it 100%, and we can always build on that. So I look at every class as like a Lego, and every time you come, you're just building, you're putting another Lego piece on top of each other, and then you're going to end up with a building, whether it's this building at the end of the cycle. We have a 3-month cycle. So we cut it down just because we need to make it bite-sized for, the human brain just doesn't like commitment very much. So if I tell people that you have to sign up for a year, I probably won't have anybody sign up. So we tell them 3 months. So 3 months at a time, a lot of people ask me like, what will I look like after 3 months? And I can never tell them that because I don't know how much you're going to put in. If our classes are 90 minutes. So if I tell them that they will shut off the world for 90 minutes, and really just focus on the class and really just be present, they will come out so much further than it can possibly come out, if they hadn't done that. So, so the class is just with a bunch of very like-minded people. So it's not like and it's very much specifically for beginners. So if you have like martial arts experience and, you're coming from some other martial arts, it's not necessarily that we don't want you in the program. It's that we want to make sure that it's a good fit for both sides. And I just don't feel like this would be the right fit because there's a bunch of beginners in the class and you might feel like, hey, I'm not really, advancing like I want to.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create that space where everyone can feel more or less equal, even if they're, on different parts of their journey, which everybody is. But I wanted to create that space. So that means if you're like heavier than somebody else, if you're slower than somebody else, if you can't hit like someone else, or you can't understand it or grasp it as quick, it doesn't matter because there isn't a competition. And that's like primarily why we chose also Krav Maga as our martial art, because it's not a competitive sport. It's literally a street fight. And I wanted it to be non-competitive, where it doesn't matter how great or amazing this person is or your partner is. It doesn't matter because everybody's on their own journey, and we're going to get you to the max that you can get to on your journey. So what makes it, I think at least what I feel is different is that, first of all, I have a connection with every single one of my members, and we have over 100 members. So, and everybody knows that they can always turn to me. They can always talk to me about, different personal things. And I will do my utmost to make sure that, we can get them whatever help that they need. To help them progress. So it's very different. We have very, very close relationships. And also it's just a family vibe, like everybody's there to help each other. No one's there to like brawl out on anyone else. And we really just have one goal and one vision, and it's felt, I feel, if I can say it so myself. I feel like it's very felt, that we're there for the community. We're really just there to help. And, we'll do whatever it takes to make sure that we can help people feel more safe, or people feel like they can do their part to save themselves.
Absolutely. That's a great thing. I'm curious to know if once they've gone through a 3-month cycle, what comes after that? Are there other levels? Can they move up? Is there support beyond that? Or do you kind of direct them to like martial arts gyms or something like that?
So the goal originally was to train beginners. Honestly, we were just like-minded friends who kind of came together and said, okay, let's pool like our resources and let's do this, right? So it wasn't, that's also the difference between us because we're not a gym. So if we had a business model, it would be a little bit different. But our goal was, how do we train more people? How do we get more people into the room? Obviously, we have to do it within in a business way so that it runs correctly and that everything is done well. But after the 3 months, first of all, our 3 months was a complete trial. We're like, okay, let's just try this. We're coming into a new community. We don't know. We're not part of this community. We don't really know anyone. We don't know how they'll take it. And we don't really know how we'll be perceived in 3 months. Maybe people will be like, oh, we don't like this program. Goodbye. But so the 3 months that we had, we kind of just said 3 months to see how it would go. But then we kind of morphed it into just 3 months at a time so that members can like kind of deal with that commitment. But we don't go anywhere. After 3 months, we just start again, right? So we might have like a week in between as a break, just because it's a little hard. Our programs are on Sunday. So sometimes it's just a little hard to take every single Sunday of the year. People, life comes up, people have different things to do. So sometimes like we just take a week break, but then we'll start back up again for 12 sessions, within the 3 month period. And as people progress, we kind of like have to change or kind of update where we're going, because our first class, we had 30 people. So our first class was, like our 30 newbies. They were just our beginners. They were kind of like the pioneers. And then as they grew, they learned more in their martial arts. So not necessarily if you go through like a 3-month cycle, not necessarily will you be more advanced at somebody else. Like we don't ever call our groups like beginners and advanced. We just call it beginners and non-beginners, because someone can come in and start their martial arts journey, complete a 3-month cycle and not be that much far off than a brand new beginner, because they're older, or they're a lot slower. They need a lot more time. And don't forget, it's only 90 minutes once a week. It's not even a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. Because I always say like the first cycle of someone joining Guardian Self-Defense, it's usually like they're a prerequisite to a cycle. You have to get around like the martial arts culture. You have to understand like what it means to be like standing on a line, to be able to take instruction, to hit a bag. Like sometimes all these things are very scary. This is very out of the box for beginners. And it's not people who are looking for the martial arts world. It's really people who just want to feel safe. So it's very different in that sense, that not always do they understand what that means. When I say 7:15, I mean 7:15. Like you got to be on the mat. Like we don't have a mat, but like you got to be on the brown line, to bow in. It's a whole different culture. So sometimes they finish a 3-month cycle and they don't know anything, because they know how to pick up their hands and they know about situational awareness. But they don't actually know how to land a punch. They don't really know what that means to connect your fist with someone's face. They have no idea. It's not something, it's very foreign. So it's not something they can grasp onto very quickly. So there's a lot of people that do progress. We do give out like certificates at the end of a 3-month cycle, and based on the person's attendance, like merit, just because like merit just means how much of themselves that they actually give, to learn this. And so there's attendance, merit, and then just like skill, based on that, we tell them if they progressed, to a different level, if they need to now get gear, if they're going to be learning, let's say, like groundwork, how we're doing it. So in Krav Maga, we work with TKM, which is where our instructors come from, traditional Krav Maga, and they are the ones that will let us know if the individual will progress to a different colored belt. So right now, like our oldest group is going to be testing for their orange belts. Now that doesn't mean that the entire group is going to do that, because again, it's these 3 things: the skill, merit, and attendance. Because you could come 4 times, but you're really good and you picked everything up really great, but you only came 4 times. So that doesn't work. You know what I mean? So we had to like work. That was like the business model we had to figure out as we grew, because we didn't necessarily know that we're going to grow. But in general, that's a very good question. A lot of people ask us this, like, okay, so what happens after 3 months? So we don't go anywhere. We stay where we're at. And we hope to stay for as long as the community needs it. Our ultimate goal is to make the community kind of like self-sufficient, so that they can be able to do this on their own. So they don't necessarily need people to do this for them. But that's like the end game, where this becomes really big, and it's implemented in many spaces, and then it could just facilitate itself.
Awesome. So I've to my understanding, you also provide like first aid classes or training. What's the train of thought behind that?
Okay, so that came from just being a part of the community and being an asset to the community. So if you know self-defense, I know it's called self-defense, but it's not necessarily self-defense anymore. For me, like a lot of people ask me, why do I do this? Not the actual training, like why do I run this program? And for me, it's not self-defense anymore. It's more we defense. Because I've done my self-defense and I don't think that I'm done. I don't think training ever stops. And I do my own self-defense trainings, with my coaches, and I have that down for myself. But my we defense right now is to get more people to understand that they're walking around with 4 bats, like you got 2 arms and 2 legs and you can do a lot of damage to someone who's trying to hurt you. You just have to believe that you can. You have to learn the technicalities, like just learn the technique and learn what you're doing, and you can protect yourself potentially. That doesn't mean that you're going to go home unscathed, right? It just means that you're going to get home. If it's me or you and who's going home tonight, I want it to be me. And that's what I want to do for the communities. So another way to become an asset is not just to do it for yourself. If someone else is in a situation, don't just be a bystander, and don't take out your phone and put the person on World Star. Be an asset, help. So one of the things that you can also do is during an emergency, a medical emergency, you can help the first responders. So I know they're called the first responders because they're the EMTs, and as an EMT, if there would be more just community members, just regular passerbys, just good goodwill people, just good Samaritans that could help start helping in a medical situation, it would help me, it would help them, it would help the patient. So we teach them first aid because a lot of times in a crime that can happen, people can get stabbed, people can get choked, and we don't know what to do. And first aid is called. And what if you're passing by and you know what to do? You're not a first aid responder because you're not certified in CPR, but you can start. You can get the AD. You can hold pressure on a bleed. You can do something. So that's why we give those classes. There are some educational classes. That's part of our model is EPIC, EPIC. So we have E for education. That's where we have these classes. So aside from first aid, we also do, we start off with a situational awareness class because I feel like you can't really learn martial arts without understanding what situational awareness is. You have to know where if you're walking around with your hood up and your headphones on, your head in your phone, you have zero situational awareness. You can be a very easy target. Yeah. So we teach that. We teach first aid training. We teach active shooter training. Which is, again, you're not a SWAT team. You're not part of the police department, but you can help calm people down if you know what to do. You can get people to safety. You can get yourself to safety if you know what to do. And it's not every day that people find themselves in these kind of situations. It's kind of like it just happens, where God forbid there's a shooting or God forbid there's a stabbing or something. And if you know just the beginning step of what to do, you can help a lot. So that's where those classes came in. And then we hope to, continue with them so that they're kind of like once a cycle thing. Like we offer it one time. Every cycle has a different class, and we bring in a guest speaker or a professional in that field, and they'll teach us different things.
That's really cool. You don't see that very often, but that makes sense to put them together. The first aid and everything. Because if you find yourself, even if I live down south, so more people conceal carry weapons for self-defense. And if you find yourself in a situation where you had to use your weapon, it might be in your interest to administer first aid, depending on what happened.
Right. That's actually a really good point. That's a great point. Like, if you had to use that and, you had to do damage, but then, at least you're out of the scary zone, but you can still save the person's life. Your point wasn't to kill, disarm, or it was whatever it is. And it's actually a great point. Oh, I'm going to use that. You just enlightened me. So thanks for that. But that's also, I think, a very good point as to like what, makes us stand out, is that we don't just teach the actual physical parts. That, again, our EPIC model is education, protection is for the P, I is for inspire, and C is for community. So that's really what makes us stand out. We have educational classes aside from the actual physical classes, which is the P, the protection part. Inspire is just because we want to inspire other communities to do this for themselves. And communities, we are working on making a lot of community events and kind of like bridging gaps where need be so that we can lower crime rates. We very much believe that, like, you can't hurt someone that you care about. And if you can kind of find some sort of similarity or some sort of common ground between you guys, then I think, violence will go down and you won't see them as someone that I want to hurt or any kind of, other stupidities that have been going on around. And so we would like to facilitate some community events and get involved in the community to kind of like show our face. Hey, I'm here. I'm your neighbor. I care about you. Let's be friends, So that's I think that's like that's really what makes us stand out. It's not just about martial arts. It's not just about Krav Maga. It's not just about protecting yourself. It's about being a better person, a better asset to your community, a better neighbor, just a better person. And even within the classes, you come in and you learn a lot of things because some people are very, very I don't want to say like, closed-minded. They kind of live in a little bit of a bubble. And if it hasn't happened to them, they don't really know that it exists. And then now you're in a class with people who have been victims of sexual assault or just, physical assault. And you're like, whoa, like this happens. It's not just like in movies. It actually happens. This person went through some stuff and there's so much to learn from. So you're kind of making me fall in love with my program again. Thank
you. You might have covered this already, but do you go over tactile communication? You're talking about humanizing, being involved in the community to humanize each other as neighbors, so that that violence is less likely to happen. Do you do anything like tactile communication? How to do verbal de-escalation, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So we go over that in our situational awareness, and also before any kind of martial arts is taught, we always tell people that, your self-defense starts with your mouth, first of all, standing up for yourself and knowing what to say and how to say it. And sometimes like your body language, like a lot of times before we teach like closed fist defenses, we'll teach open fist defenses because it's kind of like a little bit, less aggressive. And it's easier, and it can just de-escalate the situation. We're like, hey man, like I don't want any trouble, like, I'm sorry, just learning how to calm the situation down. And that's actually just reminded me of one of my members actually was, this was like during the high holidays. There was like a situation where someone came up very aggressive, kind of stood himself in front of they were in a prayer house and they were just kind of like stood himself in front and kind of looked like it was about to start something, and a lot of people just didn't know what to do because that kind of presence automatically triggers like, fear and you can brawl out on, without even knowing. You can just escalate a situation that doesn't need to be escalated, and he kind of just like slowly inched up, made eye contact and kind of, let the guy know, like, I'm here. If anything is going to go down, like it's going to go through me, but I'm not here to hurt you, like let's talk this out. And very slowly the man just backed down, like he came in all, brawly, loud music, very just aggressive look. And then slowly he just, de-escalated slowly, just lowered it down and then ultimately just left, which to me was amazing because we don't teach them. Like I said, we don't teach you how to fight. I don't care that you're, the cool kid in class now, I'm really cool. That's not my goal. My goal is that you should know how to defend yourself. If someone is going to put arms on you or try to, that's when you step in. But we're not about to be like, hey, you want to go? That's not the attitude of the class. So we definitely teach them how to, first of all, scan the room, get a feel of what's going on, understand where you are, which is very much something that we block out these days. We don't listen to them. Back to my attack was the first thing I blocked out. My hairs in the back of my neck stood up. I was very physically scared, but I kind of shut that down. And I was like, no, do not be scared. Like, you're fine. You live in Midwood. Like, nothing ever happens here, and I didn't scan for him. And I didn't see where I could have gotten out of the situation, earlier and potentially not been a victim, so that's definitely something that we make sure that, do not walk into a situation that's kind of like begging to blow into like a big flame, look around, see where you are, hear the tone, understand where sometimes it's better for you to just be quiet and, take a couple steps back. It's not always like run in and be the first person to punch, but if someone's being aggressive, picking their hands up and they know that they're about to hit you, go full force.
Absolutely. When I many years ago, when I became a security guard, I'm not anymore, but back in my mid-20s, they don't really use this. Like, if you're going to be in a self-defense case in court, they don't really use this anymore, but it is useful to understand the force continuum, where presence and what you say are both kinds of force, which is one of the even the logic behind having a security guard around. People are like, well, they can't do anything. What are they doing there? Well, being there, there deters a lot. When they say things to people, that can deter a lot. Now, obviously, we know from self-defense training that how you carry yourself is really important. So if you look like a soft target, having a presence is maybe not forceful, but if you don't look like a soft target, and you don't have to look aggressive, you just have to look like you believe in yourself. Then you're kind of exerting a little bit of force. Like you're talking about was absolutely the perfect example of that. Making eye contact, being there, being a presence. He eventually kind of downregulated himself and walked away because there was just people there, and he was realizing maybe this is not worth being upset about. Maybe this is not worth escalating.
Absolutely.
So he walked away.
Wow, it's exactly how you said it. It's like, I think that's the key word I was kind of looking for, deterrence. That's really what we teach them. That it's, it's not about getting into a fight, and it's not about walking around like always on guard. No, but walking around and knowing that you got this handled, right? And it's funny because I was like talking to a bunch of police officers, retired police officers, and they were going through some footage. So we have some like video footage of the presenters that talk about this situational awareness, and they'll show us a lot of times like how like the target is kind of like picked, and you'll see them from like a group of people, and it's like, why is this one picked? They kind of like go into like the psychology behind it, and they try to understand like why did they choose this person over that person, and you just see it, like you see that the markers are kind of all there. And when talking to the victim, so many times, like they'll say, the very known phrase of like, I didn't see it coming. I never saw it coming. Or like, it came out of nowhere. And then after seeing the footage, they're like, it really didn't come out of nowhere. I just wasn't aware. I wasn't there. I wasn't present. Yep. And, just being like we always teach them, like, don't put your hand in your pockets, don't carry lots of things, have your hands like free, and, no head in your phone, no headphones blaring when you're on now there's like the subway attacks have just been increasingly crazy. It's like become the new thing to just attack in a subway or on a subway platform. And it's still till today, like even this morning, there are so many people that don't have any awareness of their situation. They don't know that they're walking on the yellow line. It's like someone can just, push you very simply and you can fall, you know? So like those kind of things. So it's a lot of stuff where you have to know that you can do this. So before I can teach you all this stuff, which sounds like common sense, take your head out of your phone, put your hat down, like, it sounds like common sense, but one, if you don't believe that you are worth defending, you're not going anywhere. I can tell you all day, I can teach you all day, it's never going to go into your head, and two, to have the confidence to actually do that, you look different, so if there's one change from my first 3 months people to my second 3 months, even like people who continue from their first cycle to their second cycle, that's the difference. They look different. They're standing different. They know they can do this. They have the confidence that I can do this. I haven't reached 100%, but I can do this, and I can be more aware, and I can be, more in like control of what's going on, So that's, like you said, like even just having a guard there. And it's really funny because it's like, while you were saying that, I was laughing, but you're right. That is what people think. Like, why is he even there? But just having that person there is kind of like, oh, I have to recalculate how, if I want to attack or if I want to do something, I have to recalculate because there's somebody there, even if that guy can't do anything, but still. So when you're doing that for yourself and you're being your own security guard and you're just being present, the attacker is going to think again, like, oh, maybe this isn't worth my time. Like, oh, she's looking around, So that's definitely something that we start off with. It's got to be in our situational awareness to let them know, before I can teach you how to use your fists, you have to know you have fists, like you have to know you have them first. So
you have to know that you are capable of throwing a punch, and if you throw it to the right area, you can hurt somebody. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. You got to see the shocked faces, like when we tell them about areas that, like, will never, it doesn't matter how many times I work out my nose, my chin, or my groin, it doesn't matter. It's not going to get any stronger. Like, these are weak points, like, you got to see their faces. It's like blows out. It's like, what? Oh, wow, you're right. So it's like, it's very funny, like when they make that connection and they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I can do that. Yep. I can hit to the groin.
Eyes, nose, chin, mouth, groin, all those areas. Even solar plexus sometimes. Well, I mean, kind of. You can kind of work that out.
That's more, wow, I have to land the perfect punch. It's got to be, with the perfect,
Yeah, you have to estimate where somebody's solar plexus is. It's going to be hard to find sometimes. Right.
Cool. So switching gears, you've talked about expanding. How do you, what's going through your mind? What's the list that you have when you're searching out locations to teach in? What's the criteria there?
So yeah, that's quite a tricky endeavor. What am I looking for? I'm looking for first of all, in talking about the space itself, I need it to be big enough. I need it to be comfortable, right? So I don't want like a basement full of objects and things that can potentially, hurt people, fall on people. So I want a big enough space that can fit at least 30 people. That's kind of like the size class I go for usually. And I want the actual space to be, clean, well lit, air conditioned. And I want it to be in like a central location in whatever community I'm looking to expand to. I don't want it to be like in the end of the world where people can't come. It's very hard to get to. There's no parking, things like that. Because people don't know how important self-defense is until they learn it or until they're unfortunately in a situation. So a lot of times I'll hear that from people like, oh, I was walking down the street and I was really scared, so now I want to sign up. Or if there's like a lot of things going on in the news where there's a lot of escalation in crime, or I don't know if you've been following, but recently there've been like a lot of anti-Semitic attacks. There've been a lot of like really high tensions. That's when we get a lot of calls. That's when people are like, hey, we want to come now. And that's like the worst timing. I can't find a place in 2 seconds. It's just not going to make sense. Plus, I'm not a Hershey bar, so I just can't make everybody happy. But I try the best, right? So like I'm going to try to find a location that's central to that community. So say we're in Crown Heights right now, right? So I'm going to find a location that's central to all parts of Crown Heights. So Crown Heights is not that big, but still, like, someone who lives about 15 blocks away is going to think twice about coming out at night in the winter when it's cold, and there's other things going on. But let's say in the city, right? So in the city, that's where it was a little bit like trickier for me because there's so many different communities, like East Side doesn't want to go to West Side, and Midtown and Uptown, down to all that. So we kind of just want to find a place that's central and makes sense, and that we can cover our costs. Isn't like extraordinarily expensive, and just works. Like we're able to be there for 3 months. First of all, I don't want to find a place where I can be here 1 week and they're somewhere else. I'd rather have somewhere at least semi-permanent, at least for the 3 months, and some place that is accessible to everyone and just comfortable. So a gym, meaning like a basketball gym or something, even if a dance studio, if it's big enough. It doesn't really matter. The place itself doesn't matter so long as it can facilitate the amount of people that I want, which, like I said, was at least I'd like to start off a class with 15 usually. Potentially, a full class is 30 people. So that's really when I'm looking for a place. I don't want it to just fit 15 people, but I want it to start with 15 and potentially go to 30. That's like the logistical side of things.
Yeah. What does the conversation look like when you approach like a gym, like a basketball gym or a rec center or something like that?
So first we let them know that we are a nonprofit organization that teaches self-defense. We do let them know that we're a Jewish organization sometimes, because most of the time we're doing this in like, like a Jewish rec center, let's say, or like a synagogue or something like that, where they have members, and it kind of makes it like a little easier, because I don't necessarily try to recruit people, because again, like it's nonprofit. So I would be, much heavier on the recruitment if I would be making money, but I'm not making money. I'm helping people. So it's a little bit of like a different like scale. I want to get people in because I want them to want it. So it's a little bit different. So I'm not necessarily like recruiting. I am looking for a place that will help me kind of express my goal. So my goal is to help the community, right? So if I go to a synagogue, that already helps me because they've got a community, they've got congregants, and if we can use their space, it's it's very comfortable. They already know the place. It's kind of like it passes like the clearance because the synagogue has approved. So, and then they'll come. And that's my goal. I want these people to know. So right now, there was a hostage situation. And it was in a synagogue. And so we've contacted a lot of synagogues and let them know that we're doing like a counterterrorism seminar to let people know about this, what to do. That synagogue, they've I think they had just implemented some sort of like martial arts into their programs, and they knew what to do. Like they knew how to, not to block exits. And, the rabbi then took a chair and threw it at the man, which ultimately helped. But imagine he threw the chair, and then everybody ran to the exit, but the exit was blocked with like just chairs or other things that were, they wouldn't have been able to get out. So this is where we're going. So when we're looking for a center like that, we tell them, hey, we're all of the same mind. We want to help protect and the community, and help you guys feel safer. And we'll bring the talent. If you can provide the space and the people, that'd be great. If they don't, let's say it's just a regular rec center, not connected to anything that has any sort of like members or congregants, then we just put out ads, on social media, and then we ask our members to float it on theirs as well, and we just spread the word that way. We don't necessarily go out and recruit and ask people to come. It's more like word of mouth. And then I've been doing some, I don't know if you want to call them seminars. I call them seminars, just to kind of let people know who we are. Mm-hmm. Right. So in the beginning and back in 2020, when we just started, I was very heavy on this. Like, guys, you have to be in class. You have to come to this. You have to learn how to defend yourself. Like, it's a crazy world, And then I realized like I was really doing myself a disservice, because it's not going to work. I might get you to class, but I won't get you to stay for 12 sessions. And I won't get you to actually be present in class. And that's not what I'm looking for. Because even though my goal is to train everybody, every single person who wants to learn this, or wants to feel safer, I cannot make you want this, for yourself. I just can't. That's not something I can do. So that's why I kind of like changed my focus on, don't try to recruit them, put out your message, and kind of let them come to you, because this is a great service that we're providing, for the community, and they just need to learn to take it. So I can give them the tools, but they have to want and they have to need to pick them up, right? So I can give you all the tools in the world to build a house. I give you like the plan step by step and be there, to support and motivate you and encourage you and everything. But if you don't pick it up, nothing I can do. So we let them know, hey, we're a nonprofit Jewish organization that trains people in self-defense, specifically in Krav Maga. We run a 3-month cycle at a time. That's usually 12 sessions. We hope 12 sessions. Sometimes the calendar just doesn't permit, and we do 10. But we normally guarantee 10. And we let them know where we started, how we've been doing. We also train in Crown Heights. We train something called the Shomrim. They are like a Jewish volunteer, kind of like neighborhood watch, where they work hand in hand with the police department. And if there's ever a crime that's going on, a lot of people they'll call the Shomrim, they'll apprehend the attacker, and then NYPD will come in and arrest them. So we let them know, that's kind of like our not our back, but kind of like people who can speak for us and let them know, hey, we went through this training. This is the real deal. You really will learn, and this is my experience. And they kind of speak for us. So we give them these kind of things. So we'll send them to our website, where we have a lot of videos, and we have a lot of people saying their experience, and we let them know we are here just to help, and we really want to expand. Hopefully we can use your space. This is what we provide, yada yada yada. Some places will be very business oriented, and some people will be like, yes, please, thank you so much. We're so happy, come, and then we'll partner. It makes things a lot simpler and a lot easier to work with. But that all takes time. People, it's not so easy to trust these days. So it takes time, and of course, people always want to make a buck. So sometimes it's just okay, well, what's in it for me? And I'll tell them, your congregants will feel a lot safer. Your synagogue will feel, much more secure. You won't need to rely on a NYPD guard outside, which, by the way, the NYPD can't take care of everyone. There just isn't enough officers, especially with the defunding and stuff. There just isn't enough manpower to take care of every single synagogue and every single congregant in that synagogue. So why not you do the first step, offer this in your place, help yourself and help us, And, this will be a great partnership. That's kind of like, I sell it very well because, even though I'm not really selling it, but I sell it very well because I think they hear that this is like the feedback I got. They hear the passion, they believe it because at some point, like they understand, hey, I'm not making money. So why am I so like gung-ho about this? And then they try it out and they're like, okay, we're in.
I think most people that try it out end up being like, I think I misjudged. This is actually really fun.
Absolutely. That happens so many times. And I'm like,
absolutely.
Like, can I say I told you so?
Yeah. Yeah. A little vindication. But that's the biggest like red pill, if you will, that people do not realize is like, oh, I'll just call the police. One of the best demonstrations, one that I've seen is a guy to like actually go up to somebody that's in the self-defense class that volunteered, not just a random person, and like basically like chew them out for 5 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever, and have them try and like dial 911 on their phone. I wasn't that bold, but when I was teaching a seminar one time, I just walked up to somebody. It's like, now imagine that I'm screaming, yelling at you and escalating right now. You're having an adrenaline dump and you're trying to call the police. Now that you've called the police, it could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It could be 15 minutes of this before the police officer shows up. What are you going to do? You're just going to run, or what do you like?
Right. What are you going to do?
You're going to ignore them?
A lot of people won't answer. They're going to be like, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, come to class and learn what to do.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you're right. I need to come to class.
Sometimes people they think of something in their mind and they don't understand the logistics of it. Like I see these things all the time. People are like, oh, this is so great. There's this phone app that tracks you and you can put out a distress signal so you don't have to dial 911. I'm like, okay, but you still have to wait, 5, 6
right.
and
right. They're not at your beck and call. And also like, that means again, all this stuff is great. And I'm not trying to be like, against it or trying to be like a Debbie Downer and be like, okay, but let me show you the bad parts of this. I just find it I look at it as a supplement. It's a supplement to my safety. Mm-hmm. But I am now in the situation and I can't tell you how long that's going to take. Right. And, you always watch like these movies where the operator picks up and she says like, what's your emergency? And there's a bunch of questions that you need to answer. And what if you can't? What if you can't? What if this person's fist is in your face right now? Like, had I had time to call 911, what would they have heard? You would have heard my phone fall to the floor and my head smash against my car, and they would have heard me screaming. That's what they would have heard. I don't know how long that would have taken for them to get there. They didn't come. By the time he was done with me and I was running, there was no cops there. So I don't even know how long I was actually there for.
Yeah.
But you need to, like, people forget you need that time. You need to take out your phone, you need to find 911 or even that distress signal or whatever it is. You need to find it. You need to do it. Your phone needs to look at your face or whatever. Like, you have time to put in your security code when you're under stress. Have you ever tried to do that? Like regular stress, okay? Just not even like fear, just regular stress. Yeah. Like, the typical saying, like, haste makes waste. Always, whenever you're rushing, like something goes wrong, you drop something. How can you do that when you're in fear too? Why not learn how to kind of work through the fear? And I'm not saying not have it, because I think not being afraid is like a whole other level that I never say that we're going to get you to that level, right? I think fear is very healthy. It's a biological response. It's, it tells you need to take care of yourself or get out of here. So it's very crucial, but we need to control it and we need to work through it, not let it control us and take over the situation, So absolutely, I totally agree with everything you said.
Yeah, you have to learn how to manage fear. But if you lose the fear, you're not going to have the adrenaline. You're not going to have a heightened sense of awareness. You're not going to have heightened reflexes. Those are things that you can actually use to defend yourself. You don't want to lose all that. You don't want to be 100% calm. Like even fighters that have fought for years and years and years, they all get nerves before a fight. And that's like you said, that's a physiological response. Your body is designed to do that. And you need to use those resources in order to survive the fight. So you don't want to get rid of them. Right. You just learn how to manage it, really.
Perfect point. I'm going to use that too.
I like self-defense.
Did you know that I was interviewing you?
Black Widow interview.
Yeah.
So you, speaking of interviews, I understand that you interview members or people that are wanting to become members. What what is that for? What are you trying to figure out? Is this like trying to figure out why they want to do it, understanding where their background comes from, or what's going on in that process?
There's a couple of different different points to that. So there's different reasons why I do it. First of all, first and foremost, I want to introduce myself. I want them to know who they are. Who are you? Who am I? Let's get to know each other, because like I said, it's a different kind of program. I want to know who you are. I want to have a connection with you, a relationship with you. I want you to feel that I'm not just someone that runs the program. I'm someone that very much cares and is very invested in your progress here. So first, I feel like that personal phone call does a lot. Makes them feel like, very welcome, and that they have a kind of like a space to ask their questions. And they're not coming in blind. They know what they're coming into. So that goes into like the next thing, which is kind of like managing expectations, right? I want to know why did you sign up? What do you want from this program? What's your your end game? What do you think you can gain from this? What have you heard about it? All these questions are very important, because I want to make sure that this program fits for you. Like I've said earlier, that I think it's very important to have this like understanding that this is a good relationship both ways. This program kind of makes sense both ways, both to the member and to me. I don't want someone in my class that's kind of like aggressive and doesn't understand that he needs to work in a team, doesn't understand like just the way my programs run, right? I've had a lot of people who, not a lot, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. I've had a few people, very interesting fellows, who call that, why are they signing up? Because, it's been COVID and I've been stuck in the house for a long time. And I'm just, I'm really antisocial. I hate something. Right. And I'm like, good luck to you, bud. We're actually in the business of the people who make sure that they're safe from that. So this is not a program for you. You know what I mean? But also people who have come, with other kind of experience, and are coming to grow on that, just like expand and learn more like cool moves, or like, move up in their belts. This is not a program for you, because I'm a beginner's level. So, and then that's what I want. I want the average. I don't know anything about anything. I have 5 kids at home, and I work all day as a secretary. I'm really not saying anything bad about that profession or about being a mother, God forbid. But what I'm saying is that person probably has zero knowledge about how do I use my fists. I'm a very fine woman. I find this aggressive. I find it very violent. So kind of aside from gauging expectations and kind of managing them, also is to kind of get rid of all these like myths, kind of like be a myth buster. Like I'm not turning you into the Hulk just because you're a woman and you're coming into the class. You're not going to come out with like, popping muscles everywhere. Like that's not what this is class. Aside from that, I also let them know we're not a fitness class. I want to make sure that you understand you're not coming here to lose weight or gain muscle. That's not this class. I don't necessarily care about your fitness level, because Krav Maga was made for every man, woman, and child. And so everybody can do this. You just need to learn how to do this. Mm-hmm. Will you need to supplement your training here with some fitness? Maybe, but that's for fitness instructor. That's not for me. And maybe you'll figure that out while you're in the class. If you want to be faster at learning something, that has to do with you. But some people like move in, like they just moved into the community, right? And they're like, hey, I wanted to look for like a kind of like a social thing that I can get to know more people, kind of like network. Not the place. Nope. There's like no talking in the class. You can make friends outside of the class. Inside of the class, I want you to understand why you're here. And I don't want it to come as a shock to anybody. I don't want anyone to be like, whoa, there was a lot of instruction. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't talk to anybody. Like I wanted to get to know my and I couldn't, because I was always instructed what to do. Yeah, that's the kind of class that you're in. It's 90 minutes. It goes by like this. Every minute is crucial. And we only have this once a week. So take advantage. Plug in. The second we're done, do everything else. So it's not a networking place. It's not a fitness class. It is self-defense, practical moves that can potentially save your life or get you out of a sticky situation. That's what we're here to learn. And there's so much to learn. So I'm going to use every single minute. And then some people ask about how much does it cost? What do I do if I can't pay? I don't have the funds, but I really need to learn. And I want to learn. I want to learn about those people. I want to talk to them, because we do have a scholarship fund. Just because we're a nonprofit organization, and that's actually more important. I will always say it. Like money should never be the deterrent to learning how to train. It's not a hobby class either. It's not like, oh, I'm so bored, I want to find something cool. This is cool, I want to learn this. It's just not that class, because it's very hard to work with people who don't come from the martial arts world. They don't have like that kind of culture. They don't understand. Sometimes it's like a little bit like a boot campy, like that's what they think it is, even though we don't have that vibe. But sometimes that's what they'll feel like, okay, whoa, like, why do I have to stretch? Or like, why do I have to warm up? Why can I just, so I came at 7:15 and not 7. What's the big deal? Like a lot of the stuff is, will come with someone who's very new to this kind of culture. And so I give them like the heads up beforehand. Hey guys, like we love you a lot and we're really here to help, but we are all volunteers here. We're volunteering our time. And so we ask for respect back. Like you need to respect yourself and show up on time and, really be present in class. You need to respect your peers. There are many different people here. There are people on completely different journeys than you. And you need to respect that. You need to make sure everyone feels safe in this class. There's like, no bullying and no making anybody feel bad or embarrassed. Because then I can't work with them. They're not going to actually do their stuff. You gotta respect the instructors. The instructors they don't have to ask for quiet. Instructor says time, it's time. Like it's quiet. Now, some people don't know what time is. Some people never heard of a boxing timer. They have no idea what this is. So a lot of the stuff is like, we just gotta kind of get their feet wet, let them know like, hey, I'm just gonna introduce you to the world of martial arts. I'm gonna tell you what we're about. Yes, we're a 3-month program and I'm going to gauge this expectation. No, you will not come out like the Hulk after this. And you might not even know what to do after 3 months. And that's okay. If you gave it your all and you tried your best, A+, buddy. And you're still going to get that certificate. So long as you came to 8 classes out of the 12, we want a minimum of 8 at least. You came to 8 classes, you really applied yourself, you tried, you're going to get the certificate. And I can't tell you enough how many times that certificate is like, how important it is. At the end, they're like, hey, did I make it? Am I getting one today? Even though it's just a piece of paper and really it means nothing. Like, there's no like big star on it or anything, but to them, it's like, wow, I made it, So that first phone call is kind of going to weed out these people. I also want people who are committed. If you made it to like the interview, that means you filled out an application. And one of the most important questions on it is, if you're chosen for this program, can you commit to 3 months? I don't want to run after people anymore. I don't want to beg you to show up for yourself. And I want to know that you're committed. I want to know that you care about this more than I care about it for you, right? Because I care about it a whole lot for you if I'm essentially volunteering every Sunday of the year, to be there. And then every Monday to be in, NYC. And then, work on the back end where we're expanding and working all the other logistics of this organization. So if I'm doing that, I want to know that you're going to show up, right? So some people can't. They just, oh wow, 3 months, can't do it. Oh, it's in the wintertime? No. Oh, it's in the summertime? No. So it'll weed out those people. Whereas in my first cycle, I was like, anyone and everyone, please, everyone just come. And then it was just a lot harder to manage. Mm-hmm. So now it made it a lot clearer. People are very, very appreciative of the call because first of all, now they know who I am. And now when they show up to class, they don't feel weird because we already made that connection. They have my phone number. They know they can always reach out. They know they're going to get a message like a response back to whatever question that they have or whatever issue that they have. And they also feel that someone cares, Yeah. We're not just a program. We actually care. That's why we're here. Even if we're not part of this community, it doesn't matter. We really do care about you. So I make sure to have at least like a 15 to 20 minute conversation with them, get all their questions out, introduce them to the program, introduce myself, kind of give them a little snippet of what the class is, but I always tell them it's like telling them about swimming, right? I can explain swimming to you all day long, but if you've never been in a pool, there's not really much you can figure out until you're in the pool, right? So I tell them like your first class, it's really me just throwing you into the pool and just telling you, hey, don't worry, you can do this. Your body will make you tread, without you even knowing. So you can do this. So it's kind of like that introduction. And then I find it very, very helpful, not just to like the business side of things, kind of like the dry facts, like who are you, how did you hear about us? What are you trying to get out of it? But also it helps me with like the connection. It helps them know that they have someone to turn to, which is a very important point. Like that point person is very important. And it helps them understand like our goal. Hey, even though we're here to help, we're still a business. It's still like important, and there's still a part that you have to play here, right? This is a 2-person dance here. You have to show up. We're going to do the rest.
Awesome. So to summarize it, you're really maximizing each cohort by sifting out people that aren't going to be good for the program and people who definitely up front are like, yeah, I don't think I can commit to that.
Yeah.
So that you don't have people just disappearing and in and out and classes at strange fluctuating between different numbers and things like a college class, right?
Right.
College class, you get in there, it's full. Next class, there's 50% less. Next class, there's 15% less.
Absolutely.
And then like
so I'm also
halfway
like
through, like one random person shows up that disappeared.
So exactly. That happens all the time, by the way. Like even so that's really why I kind of I fixed like the interviewing questions a little bit more, because a lot of times, first of all, I'm limited to the amount of people I can put in the class, especially with COVID.
Yep.
I can't put everybody that wants to come in. I wish I can. I'm limited with the space, and I'm limited with COVID itself. So that I want people who want to be there. I don't want you to take a spot because it was like a cool thing that you signed up for, and you know how to answer all the questions well, and then you took a spot, but you're not actually going to show up. I don't want that. I want them to understand I can't give this to everybody, and I'd rather give this to a space, even if I have to give full scholarship to someone. I want to give it to that person because that person will show up, so I want them to understand that point, like, to understand that there's a need thing. And thank God, I have a waiting list right now, which I never thought would happen. I have a nice long waiting list of people who have been through interviews, who know, and they know that when we open up our next cycle, you have things to do on your end. And if those are not done, we can't guarantee you a spot, but they got it, because they got that little like head start of information. Like, oh, okay, this is not a program that, it'll just be around forever. And like, I can sign up last minute and I'll still have a spot. Like, no, you won't, because unfortunately this need is growing and people are hearing more about it. And I had to put some people on a wait list, which I never thought would happen. So I'm kind of like happy about it, but not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy that there's a waiting list.
Not everybody can get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a good problem to have.
Right. Yeah, so, like that, but it also helps me because then I can potentially open up another location. My waiting list grows that big. So.
Absolutely. Cool. You mentioned having a sponsorship fund. So I'm guessing that the students do pick up some of the costs. What goes into funding the program? Are there also sponsors? I'm guessing the instructors are volunteers. How does all that work?
So actually, the instructors are not volunteers. We do have some expenses on our end, like first of all, location. We pay rent. We have the instructors, their fee, and we have a lot of instructors in the class. We have like some senior instructors, and then like the heads, and then there's assistant instructors that come in because the class is pretty big, and like I said, because we're working with this kind of community, this kind of demographic, it's a little different. It's just they need a lot more than, let's say, one coach for 15 people, right? So they need a lot more hands-on. And because in Crown Heights, we're working with a religious community, I have separate men and women's class, which, by the way, is also another thing that sets us apart. Because a lot of people in the religious world, religious Jewish world, I'll say, or actually, this can go across the board, I think. Sometimes like just being religious, you're not going to do certain things, right? You're not going to be in a class that, you feel more exposed in front of a man or a woman. And so we have separate classes with separate instructors. So we'll have female instructors, very hands-on in the women's class, as opposed to the men's class that have only male instructors. And so they'll be able to facilitate the class in a little bit of a different way. So the instructors do get paid, and based on that, like, first of all, that's an expense, a very big one, because it's a difference. If I have one instructor, I have four female instructors in every class, aside from head instructors just leading the class in general. So that's a big expense. Insurance, just like the typical stuff. We also have uniforms. So we don't necessarily have a set uniform for them, but we do have like shirts with the GSD logo and pants, just, in case people want. It's also like just looks nice when everyone's in uniform. Right. Just like the typical things, nothing crazy. Like there's some, like in the calendar, there's just some different holidays that like we'll celebrate. If it falls out on a Sunday, we'll do things in the class. So it's like small expenses. But the biggest expenses I'll say are the actual space and the instructors. Those are the biggest ones. And they cost a lot of money. And thank God we do have sponsors. There are a lot of donors that like they'll see what we're doing. We'll go talk to them. We'll fundraise. That we're working on that now. Again, like we're very, very new. So like, our 2 years, we've learned a lot. I think that we grew tremendously, and realized like where we can clean up, where we can work better, or, change different things. And so we're going to be working on fundraising now, on a larger scale, not just on a class by class scale, where that's what we were doing. We want to make sure that we had our class covered. Our cycle covered. So I wanted to make sure that, for the next 3 months we're good. But now I want to make sure that, for the year we're good. So that way, we're able to, I can, get that off my mind and have more people come to the class and not have to worry about, well, if they don't have money, how am I covering them? What am I doing? So, working with donors, Joe's very, very big on that. He's incredibly instrumental. And just like the way he speaks, I don't know if you've ever spoken with him, but like he's so eloquent. He's like a natural orator, and he can sell you water from the sink. Again, not that he's like selling the program, but he is selling the idea, because
he's persuasive.
Extremely. He doesn't even try. I don't even know like what would look like if he actually tried. If he actually tried, like he can. I don't know what he can sell. Air probably. So he's incredibly instrumental. He works for APAC, so it's very, very closely related to our mission as well. He helps a lot with that, and like he'll go around and he'll talk about it, or he just has like contacts that is extremely well connected. So he can just we'll write up a nice email or put up a nice ad. But this year I'm going to work on it in a more just like in a strategic way to just outwardly fundraise, whether it's on social media or it's actually going to having different seminars and letting them know, hey, we are an organization or a charity organization, I'll even call it, that helps the community. And it's like incredibly important to continue facilitating this. So we're working on different ideas, like what makes sense, because I don't want to lose focus so much. I don't want this to turn into like super, super business. I still want to be very hands-on. I don't want to be like only busy with like kind of behind the scenes stuff. It's very important to me that I'm seen, I'm heard from, and people are able to reach me. So, in order to do that, we have to be around. So we have to have the funds for that. So the members themselves pay a membership. It's the absolute basic. I think it comes out to about like $27 a class, which is like super like wonderful for what we're able to offer. And we're hoping to be able to give them more for their money, even though I think we're giving them a lot. An hour and a half class once a week is great, but I would love it to be 2 times a week at least. Just to make it a little bit more just concrete. And hopefully that'll come with the money. Thank God we haven't had a problem until now. We never like went below funds. Also Joe like started off with a huge donation of his own, just to get it rolling, but ever since then we really had a lot of, donors sponsors will come in and they'll want to know, hey, what is this about? Like, it's very nice to hear. We want to see it. And they'll come watch a class. They'll see, the different levels. They'll talk to the members. They'll talk to us. They'll actually speak it in the class as well. And then, hopefully we sell it, but they usually after that, thank God they donate, they continue to do it, and they're like on board. Then they become like partners with us, hey, this is a great idea. Let us know what we can do to help, they continue on. So thank God, really, we've been so blessed to be able to continue doing, because honestly, like, I don't even know how we're still, we've run into so many obstacles from 2020. They're very, very creative, big snowball obstacles, some of them really small, but just one after another, and thank God we're still here. So, and we plan on staying here. So we're gonna do what it takes, whatever it takes. We're gonna get those funds, and we're gonna get people into class. But again, like I don't want it to come across as like no problem, free program. I don't believe in that so much. I feel like if you don't pay for something, you don't feel that it's important. It's kind of like plays a really big, even if it's just psychological, it just plays a big part in like your attendance.
It is psychological.
Yeah. And I see it like in our NYC class. We have we normally do like a 3-week promotional thing, like where it's free. So you can come for 3 times and just understand like what we're about and, see if you want to continue. But in the city, thank God our sponsors just like continued to pay and wanted to pay for like a block, like a 3-month block. And it very much does affect attendance and affect like the consistency. So even though like our attendance will be good, like we'll consistently have 30 people or 25 people in the class, it won't necessarily be the same people. So, and that's very important to me because I'm not trying to give like a Snicker bar effect here where like, oh, that was a great class. Oh my God, it was amazing. And then that just kind of like dies because like the sugar ends. So like, I don't want it to be that. I want it to be like, this is a continual thing. I need to continue showing up in order for this to make an impact on me. So thank God, but hopefully we'll get there. Slowly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm out of questions now. So this is the plugging part of the show where you get to tell everyone where they can find you in the program and anything else you want to plug.
So our website is gsd.gymdesk.com. You can get to our website there. You can see lots of testimonials and videos of our classes and hear from our students. You'll see different locations that we're currently training out of. Hopefully that's going to change and expand very soon. And you'll be able to see like what makes more sense to you. There is a lot of information on the website itself that, can answer a lot of questions, but there is a phone number there that routes to me. I am normally available, I'll say 24 hours. If you don't get an answer right away, you can always leave a message and I will get back to you that day. It's very important for me to get back to anybody that calls because anyone that's reaching out to us is a potential member and my members are really, really important to me. So if you'd like to send an email, you can always send it to membership@gsdadvisors.com. And again, you'll also get an email back that day.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Is it Ortal? Is that how you pronounce it?
Ortal, yes. Ortal. Wow. That is very, very impressive. I'm so impressed. A lot of people will not say that correctly. So thank you. Yes, it is Ortal.
I don't think I said your name the whole interview, but thank you for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me. It was really my pleasure. And like I said, you literally made me fall in love with my program again. So thank you very much for asking these questions and letting me get deep in and kind of like reminding myself why I do this. It's very important. I always start off every session letting my new members and my old members kind of like remember why. I always tell them, remember your why, because it is the driving force that's going to make you come to class. That's going to make you, be present and actually perform well. So you just kind of reignited that in me. My why, and like I said, my why is we defense. It's very important to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and safe in their own skin and learn how to defend themselves. So I welcome anyone and everyone that would like to join my program.
Awesome. Well, I'm really, really glad about that. And hopefully we can have you on again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me.